Hi everyone. For this week's project, we are going to generate elevations based on your project 6, the ground plan of your space. And we're going to do them in a slightly different way than we did the elevations for the last project. We did a fair amount of copying and pasting of elements for that project. We are going to avoid all of the duplication in this project and work directly from the existing 3D ground plan to generate the elevations. So the first thing you want to do is open your project 6 and save it as project 8. Then we want to be sure we're on the scenery layer, and we're going to make some adjustments to the elements of the ground plan if necessary. I believe that I did not adjust my walls when I made this. I left them at the stock height of 10 feet, or the default height of 10 feet rather. And my walls are in fact 8 feet tall. Yours may be different, but if your walls are not the correct height, go ahead and adjust those. You may need to make adjustments to your windows to have the elevation look the way it should. We talked about windows in the last project, but just a refresher, you may need to change your style of window, the sash operation, to something that works for you. Double hung is the most common, and then if you need to make other adjustments, you can go into settings, and you probably are going to want to look at the sash to adjust the size of things, and perhaps the muntins to adjust the size of those. If you need a refresher on that, you can go back to last week's project and see how we adjusted the windows. What we did not talk about last week was adjusting the doors, which are very similar to the windows. All of my doors are those standard 6 panel doors. So I'm going to select all of my doors, and I'm going to go in and adjust their settings. The first thing I'm going to look at is the leaf, which is the actual door part of the door. It defaults to solid. Some of you may have solid doors, but if you have other types, one of the most common types is panel. So mine is one of those 6 panel doors that are sort of ubiquitous. So I'm just going to make some adjustments here. The bottom rail width is 8. There are, I always get these backwards, 2 vertical panels. Nope. There are 3 vertical panels and 2 horizontal panels. And I'm going to set the top panel height, which I think is maybe 12. Not actually in the room right now. You unfortunately can't set the height of the other 2 panels if you have one of these 6 panel doors in doing this way. You can set the top height, and then it just makes the other 2 equal. If you have a door that has unequal panels for the bottom 2, you have to go into a custom door, which is a little bit outside the scope of this class. So just make it as close as you can. You can do things like put glass in the top, or do that, or so there are a variety of adjustments you can make here. You can make this a glass door if you happen to have it, an outside, it's like a patio door or something. You can go into custom and choose a custom door that is one of the preset custom doors. There are ways to make your own doors, and we do that in the next Vectorworks class. We make some fairly complicated doors and windows in that class, and so we're not going to get to that here, but more than likely you either have a panel door or a solid door. So hopefully one of those 2 will work for you. Trim, I'm going to add interior trim. I think mine is maybe 3 inches wide. You'll have to determine yours. And that should be everything that I need for the door. So I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to go into one of the isometric views and see if that looks correct. I'm going to put this on shaded. And yes, that does in fact look like the doors that I have. They probably could use some hardware. So let's go back, oops, go back to the top view, select them again, go into settings, and there should be hardware. Here we go. We're going to include hardware, and the most common would be a residential passage set with a knob, which is just an interior doorknob. The entry sets are like front door handles, where you have in this case a handle and a deadbolt lock or whatever, but more than likely what most of you are working with is residential passage sets, or residential privacy set. A privacy set has a lock on it, although it doesn't really show up any differently. So we're going to go with residential passage set knob, or lever if you happen to have a lever. But we're going to get that and go back to, oops, we'll go back to an isometric view and shaded. And you'll see that it has put in the doorknobs. It will automatically put the knob on the opposite side from the hinge. So this is determined by the way that the door symbol indicates the swing of the door. So it will put the door on it'll put the knob on the right side. So that should be all of the adjustments I need to make. You may need to make other adjustments to yours to have your elevation, wall elevations match reality, but make all of those adjustments, and then we will move on to the next step. All right, the next step is we're going to create some new classes specific to this project. So let's see, I don't seem to have my classes turned on, so I'm going to go to Window Palettes and turn classes on. And I also probably want design layers as well. So in classes, we're going to create a new class. So I'm holding down Control here, Control click, new. And I'm going to make a class for wall A. And I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that and duplicate that. And I'm holding down Control again on the Mac. So I'm going to make a class for each door. I can edit it. It probably is just as fast to not duplicate it and just make new ones, but so for however many walls you have, make a class. Oops, didn't mean to do that. What I meant to do was edit that. Make a class for each of your walls. Wall C and wall D. Then if you have anything else in the drawing, it needs to be in a controllable class. If you've inserted furniture from Vectorworks, that furniture is very likely going to be in the furniture main class. If you have created any of your own shapes, rectangles, whatever, to be furniture, you should put those also in the furniture main class. We want to be able to turn that class off and not see the furniture when we do the elevations. So a new class for each of the walls, and make sure that everything else is in a class that is different from the walls. Next, we're going to put each of the walls in its own class, but there are going to be a couple tricks here. So if we select this, this is my wall A, and if I put it in the wall A class, you'll notice that it loses the graphic attributes that it had from being in the medium dark filled class. So we don't want that. So under normal circumstances, we're not dealing with a wall. If the way to solve this is if you just group this together with itself, even though it's only one thing, you can modify group, but that is not going to work for some reason, even though it worked. Well, now it's working. It worked fine yesterday, and now it's not working today. This is anyway, so you should be able to just group it together with itself, and the objects within groups can be in different classes than the group itself. So now that it's grouped together, now I can put it into the wall A class and everything should be fine. So if I select wall B here and group it with itself, modify group, it's going to give me this constraint is not valid thing, but it's still going to let me do it. So I'm going to put that in the wall B class. I'm going to group this. I'm doing Command G. I have to say I did this yesterday and I did not get the constraint is not valid thing, so I'm not exactly sure what's up with that. But at any rate, so I'm going to put this in the wall C class, and then I'm going to put this wall, I'm going to group it with itself, and see, that time it worked fine. So who knows? And I'm going to put that in the wall D class. I did discover earlier that if it is giving you the this constraint is not valid, and then when you're done clicking on that, if it moves the wall for whatever reason, if you group the whole thing together, so group the whole thing together and then double click to go into the group, and then while you're in the group, group each wall with itself, then this seems to work. You still may get the invalid constraint pop up, but if you click OK, it will do it anyway. So I'm a bit baffled by why that's happening. And this may not happen to you. I don't know. This is not, typically does not happen to me, and I did this project yesterday and it didn't happen, so I'm not sure what different settings I have this morning. But at any rate, so now I have, so I'm going to ungroup this. Yes, please. So now I have each of my walls in its own class, and then everything else is in a separate class. In this case, it's all in the furniture class. Now I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping with my sheet layers. I'm going to go ahead and edit. So control click. I'm going to call the 11 by 17 sheet, which is the ground plan sheet, the ground plan. And we're going to call this one the 18 by 24. That's where we're going to put the elevations. So we're going to call this elevations. And then if we go to the ground plan layer, sheet layer, you'll see that my ground plan has disappeared. Well, it's because I created classes for these walls that did not exist when we created this layer with this viewport. So we just need to turn the wall A, B, C, and D classes back on here. So if I select my viewport and go into classes, you'll see that these newly created classes are turned off. So if I just turn them back on, that will all come back. So there's my ground plan. Now I'm going to go to the next page. This is, come on. This is going to be my elevations page. So what I'm going to do is go back to my scenery layer, and I'm going to create a viewport, and I don't need to select anything here. I'm going to viewport the whole thing. So view, create viewport, and we're going to put it on the elevations layer. We want it to be 1/2 inch. We can leave everything else the same for right now. We're going to click OK. There it is. But what I actually want is just wall A. So I'm going to go into viewport classes, And I'm going to turn off walls D, C, and B. So that should leave me with just wall A. And I also need to turn off the furniture. So I'm going to go back to classes, and it was furniture main, right? Was my class. So I turn that off. So I should have my wall A. So there's the elevation. I'm sorry, there's the plan of wall A. So I'm going to duplicate this viewport, and I'm going to change its view from top plan to front. So there we have the front of the wall, and I can put this. Can put this here. Can line its plan view up with it, and then move that down some. I don't know, half an inch maybe, because I remember where in real measurements I moved it up. Womp womp. And it also looks like it wasn't far enough, so I'm going to move that down an inch. We're in real measurements, not scaled measurements when we're on the viewport. So there is wall A. Now, because these walls have thickness, you're gonna see the this part of the wall here, which is a little bit weird on an elevation. If you don't actually want to see that, you can edit the crop. So I'm gonna double click here. I'm gonna edit the crop. I'm gonna draw a rectangle or whatever shape is necessary. If you have an angled wall or whatever around this, I'm gonna put that rectangle in the medium class. I'm gonna exit viewport crop, and then I'm gonna tell it to make the crop visible so it actually creates the outline of the wall. So that is there's wall A. Then I could dimension this and put a label on it. So this would be just like last week's project. You'd want, in my case, all 4 walls. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate both of these. And we're going to change the class from wall A to wall B. Get rid of wall A and turn on wall B. And you'll see that this one works. This one, I'm not actually seeing the wall. What I've got here is the crop from the previous wall. So I'm going to double click on this, and I'm going to edit the crop. And you'll see my wall is here, but I'm looking at it from the side. I'm going to delete that crop. What I need to do is change the way I look at this wall. So if this is the wall that goes right here, what I want to do is look at it from the left to see what it looks like, right? So I'm going to change this from front to left. And there I have that. And I'm just going to go ahead and line this up. Vectorworks is not being nice to me this morning. There, okay, whoops. And then I need to rotate this to the left. Modify, rotate, where is rotate? Rotate left. And then I can line this up, hopefully by holding here for a moment and getting my little red box and holding there for a moment and then doing that. So there is wall B. And if I want to, once again, eliminate the seeing the miter, I can go in and edit the crop here. Whoops. Edit the crop here. I'll put that in the proper pen class. Medium. Display viewport, or display, yeah, it's already beyond. Okay, so when I'm done, I'm gonna delete that. So I should be able to look at all of my walls that way. I'll just go ahead and quickly do the other 4, the other 2 rather. So if we change this to Classes, we're going to look at wall. This is going to be wall C. Double click this, look at the crop, delete the crop. And in this case, we need to look at the back of this wall because it's facing, it's the mirror of this wall, right? It's the wall that's here. So we're going to look at the back of it. So we want to look at back. Okay. And we can line all this up. Going to rotate this to the right. Line that up. If I move, this should still be set to the same -1 inch. We can edit crop if we want to. I'm going to go ahead and put this in medium. There we go. So there's that one. And then if we duplicate this again, move this over here. We want both of these to be wall D. So we're going to go to classes and do turn off C and turn on D. This is going to be, it's going to need to be rotated to the left. That's odd. There we go. We're going to edit this crop and then delete it. And then because this is what would be the left wall, we need to look at it from the right-hand side. So we're going to turn this view to right. I'm going to go ahead and edit the crop. And then I can line this up. And then line that up. Oh, I should have lined up like that. And we're going to modify move. Did I line this one up incorrectly? I did. And it looks like I actually need to move this one further down. So I can either, because I would want to be able to do dimensions across the bottom here to dimension where these doors are. So I probably want to move them all down some then just to make them consistent. So we're going to move them all down ½ an inch. -0.5. That will leave me room to do dimensions. And then if I want to dimension, I can double click, go into annotations, choose my dimension, and we can do this. Etc. So you want to lay out all of your walls, you want to dimension them, you want to label them, just like we did in the last project, elevation A, plan A, elevation B, plan B, etc. I know that a couple of you have, most of you have rooms or spaces that are just square. A couple of you have spaces that have walls that are angled. And so looking at a front or a left or a right or a back will not give you the right view of the wall. So the way you solve that is, I'm going to show you now. So if we go back to scenery, I'm just going to draw an angled wall for the purposes of this demonstration. So if we go to the wall tool, let's just say that we have this situation. So the question would be, how can we get a view of this wall because it's not turned in one of the normal views? How can we get a view of that wall for the elevation? So in order to show you that, I'm going to create another wall class. We're going to call this wall E. Whoops. Wall E. And I'm going to go ahead and, so that I can turn them off, make both of these other walls wall F. Of course, that's not reality, but just for the purposes of demonstration. So we're going to make both of these wall F. Wall F. And we're going to make this wall E. Okay, and here's what we do. Go to one of the isometric views where you can see the wall. And really this works in any view, where however you're looking at it, you can see the wall. And then go to the 3D modeling tools and find set working plane. And then as you drag over planes, they will turn purple. So what you want to do is turn the front of this wall purple and click on it. And then if you hit this button, which is the look at working plane button, it will look straight at that working plane. Now you can create a viewport. View, create viewport. Okay. So now we have a viewport looking straight at that wall, and we can just turn off all of the other classes. So if we turn off A, B, C, D, and F, and furniture. I keep forgetting about the furniture. Then we have our straight on view of that wall. So that will work with a wall in any view. Now you'll notice that since I've added that to my drawing, it's showing up here. So I would need to, well, it wouldn't be here, but if I wanted to get rid of that, I could go into that viewport and turn off walls E and F, and they will disappear. So you have to be careful when you add things and classes after you've created viewports. You just have to look and make sure that you haven't inadvertently put, see, there it is again. So I could go in and turn it off, or I could just go back and get rid of it because it's not really there. So just be aware of that. So what you should end up with for this project is a PDF of a page with all of the elevations of all of your walls, with the elevation and the corresponding ground plan below them, with appropriate dimensions and labels. And of course, fill out your title block. And these are in, you're probably doing these in 1/2 inch, so make sure that your scale is appropriate in your title block. And if you have any particular elements to your space that I haven't gone over, something that's not a door or a window, and you need help figuring out how to do it, feel free to send me an email or a text, and I will be happy to help. All right, happy drafting.